Shalom. Call Haloyam La Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. Rakatha Yahweh, Rakatha Yahweh Shai, Rakatha Rakha Kodash, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. Shalom and double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elder bishops and the elders and the Akim and Akwathium of the hopeful elect. That's Shalom. Salaki, give me one moment. All right, Salaki. So y'all want to go into a quick video here entitled War Machine Movie. It's Blasphemy Against the Almighty. This will be a bit of a spoiler. So a lot of it, I'm not going to go into too much of a detail about it, but if you have not seen the movie, suggest you go ahead and watch the movie first. It's on Netflix called War Machine. And yeah, so let's go ahead and check out the movie if you have not, because I'm going to talk about the ending of it. But yeah, so like, it's a really good movie, but it, as the hopeful elect, that are sincere and genuine, we see everything through spiritual lenses all the time, You can't even help it, just, and these movies are directed by the small hats, Typically, these directors is going to be a small hat. And what they do is they inject their movies with scriptures, with biblical undertones, and a lot of times overtones, because they know these directors, they have to know the Holy Scriptures. Well, they have to know, biblical stories and narratives, of the Scriptures to be a director, to be, and you can see it, you can see the Bible aspects of these movies. And so it's basically about a alien spacecraft that came down, like they thought it was an asteroid floating around the Earth, and then they said like pieces of the asteroid broke off, and I guess it landed and fragments landed throughout the Earth. They thought it was just an asteroid. They thought it was just asteroid rocks. They broke off the asteroid and fell into the Earth. That was harmless. Which they thought it was harmless, but then turns out to be that it was different alien machines. That fell into the Earth atmosphere and throughout the four corners of the Earth. And then these machines started rising up, and then started attacking throughout the four corners. And then, at the ending or whatever, it was basically the whole Earth coming together as a unified Earth military, all the militaries of the Earth coming together to fight this outside alien threat. And it's not anything creative by these directors. It's yet another movie depicting them coming together. The world's armies coming together, the governments of the Earth coming together with their militaries to fight a so-called supposed alien invasion. But basically, it's just yet another movie that's not cleverly disguised as them coming up against the Heavenly Father when He sends Yahweh to return with the host of heaven, the armies of heaven, which are the so-called UFOs, the chariots, and so the main character supposedly had found the way how to destroy take down the machines, and then the army general was like, your intel is going to save a lot of lives. Like they're going to they always have this, like Independence Day, they always have a way to find a weak spot on alien aliens and their machinery, their aircraft, right? But we know the Most High's so-called UFOs, the chariots, of heaven, have no weaknesses. These aircraft are spiritual. They have no defects, no defaults, no weak spots, or nothing like that. So it's all just blasphemy about coming up against the Heavenly Father and His Son Yahweh when He returns with the angels of heaven, in the chariots. And in Hollywood movies, they love to blaspheme by saying they're going to be able to given the image that they're going to be able to fight and overcome and be able to go back and forth with the so-called alien invasion. It's just pure stupidity. But it was a good movie, but entertaining to watch when you just watch it. But but seeing it spiritually, it's foolishness. And definitely, can get you upset about the blasphemy of this and this pride of this devil and his disrespect to the Heavenly Father and His Son and the angels. So Isaiah 14:13, for thou hast for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. And who's the stars of Yahweh? It's the children of Israel. So he's going to ascend into heaven, and that's going into his military, his air force, and now he got the space force, right? So, and then his satellites. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. He has taken down the Israelites, and he's over the top of us right now for a season. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation and the sides of the north. You see, and the north going into Babylon, because Babylon is north of Israel. And what's north to and North America right now? Babylon the Great, the modern Babylon, which is Babylon the Great, America. In verse 14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. You see, and that's going into his space force and the satellites, claiming that they went to the moon, planting a flag, which is, pretty common knowledge that was a lie and it was a false event, because everything about the so-called white man is false, falsified falsehoods, and he's artificial, just like his food, right? Artificial food, GMOs, genetically modified organisms. So, verse 15, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, and hell represents, because heaven is rulership, hell is being taken out of rulership, and then also being judged, taken out of the earth to the sides of the pit. So that's what's going to happen to the so-called white man. And this is definitely talking about Esau. And so we go to Isaiah 47:1. Come down and sit in the dust. See, that's sitting, they're going to get knocked out from heaven, their rulership, and off their throne into the dust. Meaning what? The ground, hell, being taken out of rulership. O virgin daughter of Babylon. So who's the daughter of Babylon? Esau, the Edomites, the children of Edom. The children of Esau, Edom, sit on the ground. There is no throne. O daughter of the Chaldeans. And that's going to the small hats. Chaldeans were the sorcerers and warlocks. And, those that work witchcraft, they do it now through the Hollywood movies. And the music and television and the internet now. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. So they will no longer be called tender and delicate because, the American dream, everyone thought America was so pure and good, and was, they looked up to the so-called white man Esau as a god, right? They really not realizing that this is nothing but a devil and a demon. So they're going to sit into the dust. They're going to sit in the dust. And they're the virgin daughter of Babylon. And why is that? Why and how that's related to the so-called white man? Psalms 137:7. Remember, O Lord Yahweh, the children of Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. So that word race it means to tear down, basically like an eraser. So destroy it even to the foundation. So they were cheerleading the Babylonians that took down the southern kingdom, during the time of Nebuchadnezzar. Verse 8. O daughter of Babylon, you see. See, verse 7 is talking about the children of Edom, and that's the same context in verse 8. It's talking about the children of Edom. O daughter of Babylon, you see. And then in Isaiah 47 speaks about the virgin daughter of Babylon, you see, because it's tender and delicate, because virgin meaning, a young maid, a young woman of marriageable age, they're at their most prime to be a wife to a man, right? So this country was viewed so tender and delicate and so great and beautiful, right? The glory of all kingdoms, the scriptures speak about. So said, who are to be destroyed? So, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. And they've destroyed us, and then it's going to come back upon them. That's that boomerang. That's that so-called karma effect, right? In verse 9, happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. So, I'm going to take the little ones, because Andrew Jackson did that during what? The time of, Trail of Tears, the so-called Native American Indians, when it was the Indian Removal Act that they had enacted, forcibly relocated the poor brothers of the Northern Kingdom, and Andrew Jackson and them was taking babies, infants, by the heels, by the ankles, right, and smashing their heads up against the trees during that time. It's very satanic and demented what the so-called white man has done it to us. And this is prophecy, way back. King David wrote about this way back, because King David was a warrior prophet. And so the daughter of Babylon is a so-called white man, and as biblical prophecies and scriptures pinpoints them to a T. And you have to be able to see it in the spirit to be able to understand and receive that that's who it is. And the signs are all over the place. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 3 and through 4. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And as we just read in Isaiah 14 and Isaiah 47, the Most High is going to bring them down. He that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And that's his pride, and that's his blasphemy, right? Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and that's what his military is flying through the skies, right? The Air Force and the Space Force. And though thou set thy nest among the stars, and that's going into, because in Revelation chapter 12 speaks about the woman with the 12 stars, the crown with the 12 stars, that's going into the 12 tribes of Israel. He does that literally by destroying us, right, the Israelites, and then also by having his satellites in the skies with the stars, right? His space station in NASA, his blasphemy. Want to be like the Most High, want to have his eyes everywhere, viewing everything like the Most High. Very wicked and profane person and blasphemous. Thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh. You see, the Most High going to bring them down. So around when they said they landed on the moon, this country has been in a downward spiral, because ever since then, it's continuously declined since they have set their nest among the stars. With their space station, with their satellites and space travel that they claiming, right? And so that pinpoints that time period, because like Trump, the MAGers, the Make America Great Again people, they want to go back to the quote unquote glory days that they had, and that was around in the 50s and 60s. That was basically about the height of this kingdom, and then in the 60s, what happened? They said that they made it to the moon, and then after that, you had the hippie era, the drugs started really infiltrating this country, the drugs, and then in the 70s, you had the cocaine and 80s, a crack epidemic in the drug era, and in the 90s, it just got worse and worse until now this place has continuously degenerated since the 60s, It was already wicked and degenerate, but, they took out the prayers in schools and everything, right? And it was just a steadily decline since then. So you can definitely understand and comprehend that in the spirit, that's the Most High saying, that's when he's going to bring them down. Second Ezra chapter 13 and verse 1. And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And that's going into who? Yahushua, that wind from the sea, and that's the because in Genesis speaks about the waters above and the waters below. The waters above is space. Waters up there's waters up there. That's when he returns and enters into this realm, the great return of Yahushua. And that man waxed strong, and that's Yahushua. He waxed strong. That man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, and that's going into what? The so-called UFOs, the chariots. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. So so if something's under you, that means you're what? Up above. So he's coming from above, right? Yahushua's return, coming from the heavens, and going to enter into this realm from above. And then everything underneath him are the people, mankind, the population of mankind, and they are going to tremble. And they're going to wail when he returns, because why? If it was such a great thing, why are they crying? Because they don't know the truth. They have not put on as the elect, and they don't know to walk down the straight gate, and don't understand that is a rite of passage to the kingdom of heaven. They're living their own lives, not worrying about the Most High, not in any of their thoughts. They don't care about the Heavenly Father. And so now they see this great return, and then they're going to mourn because they know in their heart that they're not right. Verse 4, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth filleth when it filleth the fire. So you see, why is referencing fire? Because he's going to come back, return, and be burning up a lot of things, chiefly the militaries of the earth. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men, out of number, from the four winds of the heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. And that's when he returns from heaven, where he sits on the right hand of the throne of Yahweh, right, on the right side of Yahweh, the Heavenly Father. And they're going to actually, they foolishly going to think that they can come up against, the Heavenly Father's Son, the Heavenly Father and His Son. And so, so that multitude of men out of number, that's all the heathen militaries that are gathered in the valley of Yehoshaphat, or they call it Jehoshaphat, right? The valley of decision over there in the so-called Middle East. That's what the ways of the kings of the earth are prepared by the Most High, draining the Euphrates River. And now they're over there. They're getting more and more collected and rounded up and gathered around in that region right now, World War III. Verse 6. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. So what mountain flies? This is talking about the largest so-called UFO imaginable, and flew upon it, a chariot of the Heavenly Father. Verse 7. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. Hill, another name for mountain. So he could not see, it was so large he couldn't see where it began or ended because it was that large. Verse 8. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight, because the Most High is going to have the spirit on them to still move forward, even though they're going to be terrified. The heathen militaries of the earth. Verse 9. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. Because our weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but spiritual and mighty to the pulling down the strongholds, right? And that's false philosophies and false religions, and then also these weak carnal armies that don't stand a chance against Yahweh's armies through His Son Yahushua that He's appointed, right? Verse 10. But only I saw that He sent out of His mouth as it had been a blast of fire. And that's going to the chariots. They're going to be that chariot laser beam fire, that concentrated spiritual fire. And out of His lips a flaming breath, and out of His tongue He cast out sparks and tempests. So Yahushua will be able to shoot fire as well. So it's going to be very terrible, and shoot out tempests. That storm, He'll be able to shoot out fire and storms. You know, that's how powerful, that's how much power that he's going to have, that he has, that he's been blessed with from the Heavenly Father, right? Yahweh Shah. Verse 11. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight. You see, Yahushua is going to match their energy. They come in with violence, but Yahushua is going to match them spiritual, going to match them, but surpass them greatly with the spiritual violence, and burnt them up, every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived. So instantly, an innumerable, so 1 second, there's an innumerable multitude of heathen armies. As far as the eye can see, it's like an ocean of military men and jets and planes and fighter aircraft, and then also tanks and everything, right? And a split second later, nothing to be perceived, nothing to be seen. They're gonna get vaporized within a second, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. You see, that's a very terrible vision, to see an innumerable multitude of people, a sea of military armies in that region. For 1 second, and then a split second later, boom, they disappear. Nothing but dust and smoke, and the smell of smoke. It's the horrific judgment that they're about to receive from the Heavenly Father through His Son Yahweh Shah. In the chariots of the Heavenly Father. So, that War Machine movie is just more blasphemy against the Almighty. They won't be able to figure out a weak spot, a defect in the chariots of the Heavenly Father, and then be able to come up and save the lives of mankind who are wicked and filthy as hell, right? They won't be able to they're not going to, this madness, find a weak spot and be able to overcome the quote-unquote alien invasion, the return of Yahushua, back into this realm to redeem his elect and save the apple of the Most High's eye, the Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, Native American Indians. And he's going to do it without breaking a sweat. It's going to be very easy and light work to do so. So, just wanted to go into that real quick. Hope this video was edifying. The water to the Rechakodash Bashim. Yahushua for another video. Till the next video I say, Shalom.